What an amazing set of speakers to be part of a panel with. I am very honoured to be speaking, although I'm based at Cardiff University, I'm very much speaking on behalf of the Wales Coast and Seas Partnership and an incredible community of people who've been working to develop ocean literacy strategy for Wales, which I'll talk about in a minute, but also the Diverse Marine Values Project. So this is very much a collaborative effort. And I think really speaks to some of the pieces that have already been raised in this morning's sessions about the need for social transformation, the need to engage communities, to think about process literacy that we heard yesterday. All of this kind of aligns itself really well with the work that's been happening around ocean literacy over the last few years. But what is ocean literacy? I thought I would start by reintroducing some of you to that concept. And one of the things we haven't heard a lot about in the last day or so is the fact that we are halfway through the UN Ocean Decade. So alongside all of the other ambitious targets and goals that we've set ourselves, we're also in the middle of this ambitious framing of time where we can prioritize ocean conversations and prioritize engaging with our communities on ocean topics. The Ocean Decade is framed around 10 key challenges, and one of those, challenge 10, is to restore society's relationship with the ocean. Recognizing that, of course, there are some communities, some places where that relationship is inherent and built in and sustainable, but we have an opportunity to learn lessons and apply those over the remainder of the decade. And ocean literacy as a concept has been framed not only as something we need to achieve on an individual basis, but as something that is a societal outcome, taking a whole society approach, bringing in our businesses, our policymakers, our practitioners, and our communities. So ocean literacy in one slide, this is 20 years of work in one slide, at its very simplest is defined as having an understanding of your influence in the ocean and the ocean's influence on you. That means so much and everything, and I think the film that Giles showed really captured all of the different components of that. It started in a really formal education framing, so many of you will, I'm sure, have questions about the terminology around ocean literacy, and believe me, those conversations happen all of the time. But really, I think it's important to recognize its roots and recognize that it did come from that education framework. It had the dimensions of knowledge, communication, and behavior, and the idea being that if we teach kids particularly about the ocean, they will have knowledge, they'll be able to communicate about it effectively, and they'll make behavior changes. We are not that straightforward, we are not that rational, and we know that behavior change is much more about what we feel, what we value, what's important to us. And so recently there's been a number of frameworks, including some work that myself and Daryl Burden did, to look at other dimensions that might influence this complex relationship that we're talking about between people and the ocean. Some of the things that we recommended in that work were things like expanding the definition of knowledge as a dimension so that it includes things like knowledge of maritime careers, knowledge of how to get involved in governance processes and decision-making, emotional connections, whether they're positive, negative, or neutral, thinking about access, so that we're not just thinking about access being only for the people who can get to those spaces. I don't know about all of you, but I felt like I was accessing the sea, the ocean, just from watching that film being sat in this room. Access doesn't have to be when we are physically in a space. So making sure we are restructuring and rethinking that as well. And all of that framework has been used to lead and direct some incredible work that's been happening across Wales in the last couple of years. So in Wales, we've really built on the ocean literacy assessments that have been done across the UK in 2021 and 2022. We've really been guided by the international emphasis on ocean literacy, and as a result of that, it's been one of the key priorities for the Wales Coast and Seas Partnership over the last few years. And it's really been a culmination of over 2 years of incredible collaborative work, bringing together over 80 or more institutions of people across Wales representing policymakers, practitioners, researchers, NGOs, a whole wealth of people's expertise and knowledge to help us build towards the ocean literacy strategy for Wales, Imor Ni. This is just a snapshot of some of the organisations who've been involved in that. And it is my absolute privilege and honour to be standing here and saying that the Ocean Literacy Strategy for Wales, Imor Ni, was launched in January, so 3 weeks ago. You can get it by scanning that QR code. Really importantly, and I can't emphasise this enough, this is the first ocean literacy strategy in the UK. It is the first ocean literacy strategy in Europe, and it is the second ocean literacy strategy in the world. So Wales are leading the way in thinking about how we can work towards that transformational change, thinking strategically about how we can engage communities across all of our decision-making and thinking about the ocean. To develop a Morini, as I said, it's been this long process where we've really tried to work together to think about how we can co-identify priorities, what is needed in a Welsh context, learning from some of the work that's happened in Canada. And we started workshops in June 2022. So it's taken us a while to get to where we are, but that's meant we've had a really engaged community to help us think about, okay, so we want to develop a vision, we want a strategy for Wales, and really think about what that means for our priorities as a country. We want to build a base of champions, and we have the Wales Ocean Literacy Coalition as part of the Coast and Seas Partnership, and develop a really fantastic community and network to support information sharing, collaboration, and communication. Our mission, the strategy sets out our mission, which is to foster and nurture ocean literacy across the whole of society in Wales. And that is underpinned by a vision where we work towards enhancing ocean literacy so that people across Wales are connected to, understand, and value our coasts and seas, and are able to make decisions that are supportive in restoring and transforming those environments and can support that relationship between them. We have 4 key goals as part of the strategy, and ocean connection is one of those really high priorities for us. Underneath each of those goals, underneath our vision, are 6 co-identified action areas. So they've been, again, a series of really detailed workshops that have helped us to get to this point. And each of those action areas corresponds with and supports the delivery against the 10 dimensions of ocean literacy that I mentioned earlier. They include things like how do we support access and experience across Wales and across our communities, including our inland communities. How do we ensure we are delivering ocean literate policy? So again, not just thinking about ocean literacy as something for communities, it's about challenging ourselves as an ocean, marine, and coastal community too. Thinking about how we develop knowledge and skills and support capacity building across our action areas. Underneath each action area, there are our goals, our outcomes, and some suggested actions that other organizations, that groups can take forward and think about how they can contribute towards delivering the ocean literacy strategy for Wales. So what next? There's a lot of work for us to do. In the short term, we have the Festival of the Sea, which is happening in March. So we have 2 events in Milford Haven and 1 in Flint. It would be fantastic to see some of you there, and those will really champion the relationships, the engagement, the communities that live, work, and connect with our Welsh coasts and seas. Our website will be up and running very soon. This is our landing page, and you can access it through the QR code on the screen. And that's where you'll see up-to-date information about what's happening across Wales to support delivery of the ocean literacy strategy and work ongoing. And now we hop across the border and we think about what's happening in England as well. So for the last 3.5 years, I've been part of the Diverse Marine Values Project, where we've been exploring using different methods, really arts-based methods, creative methodologies, to explore different values and relationships across a range of case studies. And ocean literacy has been one of the frameworks that we've been using to understand that. In our 4th year, so in the next few months, which is a bit scary, we will be working to start the co-development of an ocean literacy strategy for England, really building on the work that's already happened in Wales and learning lessons from what's been done on that side as well. We ran an initial workshop at the SMMR conference in Bristol last summer, which I think some of you were probably at. And I just wanted to highlight some of the key themes that came from that workshop, because I think they really echo some of the conversations that have been happening over the last day or so. We've talked about the need to develop and understand capacity around the role of ocean literacy as a policy tool. How can we operationalize it and move from talking about it to actually delivering it and actioning it? What are the enablers and the barriers for communities, to society, for policy? And how do we ensure that inclusivity, accessibility, and equity underpin the work we do around ocean literacy? To support the development of this, we'll be running 4 workshops over the next couple of months, so 2 online, 2 in person. The online ones are taking place on the 18th and 19th of February, and then the in-person ones will be one in Falmouth in collaboration with the Rock Project on the 3rd of March, and the second, just confirmed this week, will be on the 27th of March in Southport. Again, you can sign up using the QR code on the screen. And we'd love to see as many of you there as possible. We really want to make sure this is a co-designed process. So the take-home messages and calls to action. If the one thing you take away from this talk is that ocean literacy is more than communication and more than education, I will be very happy. It is much more complex, and there are far more dimensions being included within that conversation. Of course, I want you to download and read the Ocean Literacy Strategy and think about what that means for England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Jersey. I know you're represented here too. How can we take that forward to make sure we're delivering that social transformation? Celebrate the launch of Imóra Ní by coming along to our events. If you're based in Wales, we're running a campaign at the moment so that you can tag your activities using Imóra Ní and Ocean Literacy to really promote the work that's happening already, and of course, register for those workshops. Thank you very much.